joining us right now. After our discussion on the HD 84 race, received a call from State Representative Dennis Bonnen, who worked on, of course, the border security bill, carried it through the House, and he's joining us here on the show today. Good morning, sir. How are you?
So much for allowing me to come on and take some time.
Absolutely. Well, we spoke yesterday, and you wanted to sort of set the record straight on in this HD 84 race, and in other races across Texas, we've seen some of the same issues pop up, and it's regarding spending on this border security bill, correct?
That's exactly right, Chad. What I'm talking about, and respectfully to Mr. Landtroop, he was in the legislature in 2011, and yesterday he questioned and criticized and pondered what we did on border security, said it wasn't enough. He had no idea of how to do more, what he would do differently. But in 2011, we spent $222 million on border security. And last session, we spent $800 million. So Representative Frullo led the effort on the issue of border security, went to $800 million, and his opponent is questioning whether we did enough. It's silly. And, to kind of back it all up, just look at Colonel McCraw, the head of DPS, who's been leading the effort and doing a good job for us of doing border security for the state. His comments before Congress, before the House Judiciary Subcommittee on Immigration and Border Security just about a week ago, I'll quote Colonel McCraw. Governor Greg Abbott and the Texas Legislature understand that securing our nation's border with Mexico is the sovereign responsibility of the federal government. However, the federal government has failed to adequately provide the appropriate resources to secure our international border, Colonel McCraw told lawmakers in D.C. That failure has forced the state of Texas to spend millions of dollars of state money to fulfill what is a federal responsibility. McCraw noted that the legislature appropriated $800 million to add more resources, more manpower, and more assets towards securing our border. Governor Abbott and the Texas Legislature have invested substantially into state resources securing the border at a time when the state has many other vital priorities. Bottom line is, and I'll read his letter to legislators, the bottom line is that the state legislature provided everything that we had requested, including another state-of-the-art high-altitude surveillance aircraft to provide direct support to border security operations in the Rio Grande Valley. The state legislature also authorized the movement of 2 of our helicopters to the border to provide an immediate increase in air detection and interdiction capability, and we are grateful for the tremendous amount of resources and capabilities that we provided. The bottom line is I worked with Colonel McCraw every day leading up to session and during session. And any request he had, I made it clear to him we would get it for him. So did Governor Abbott, so did Representative Frullo. We met all his requests. Those are his own comments and his own words. And to now come back and attack, frankly, the only state in the entire nation to put a single Texas taxpayer, state taxpayer dollar towards the effort, Texas. And you're now going to come attack when the head of that effort says, we gave him everything he asked for. It's asinine.
We're visiting with Representative Dennis Bonnen here on the Chad Hasty Show. Let me ask you about another, I guess, argument that has popped up, and this is
Sure.
the diversity fund.
Absolutely.
There was an amendment from Representative Tony Dale that would have shifted, $46 million, 42. I keep hearing different figures, but millions of dollars from that fund into border security. It was voted down. It has since come out that fund only had $2 million in it, correct?
Well, yes and no. There was $46 million for Health and Human Services. Only $2 million of the 46 was for diversity training.
Okay.
All right. Now, let me tell you about that amendment by Mr. Dale. That day I saw the amendment. We were doing the budget. Now, mind you, Representative Frullo had passed with me and others House Bill 11, the Border Security Bill, 2 weeks earlier. So I see the Dale amendment. I call Colonel McCraw, and I say, Colonel, why did you not tell me you need these things? Where did this come from? And he says, I don't have a clue where it came from. I'm not asking for that. I have nothing to do with the Dale amendment. You've given me what I need. Those are not my request. So the Dell Amendment was a goofball deal that wasn't a request of DPS. It wasn't a request of anybody within the game. Representative Frullo understands these issues, and he helped lead get these things done. And it's what his opponent said on your show yesterday. Well, I don't know. I'd go to the experts. Well, that's what we did. We went to the man charged with doing this job for the state of Texas, and he's doing a great job, and we gave him everything he could ask for. The other thing Mr. Frullo's opponent said is, well, he'd go down to the border and he'd talk to the people down there. Well, let me read you a quote from the executive director, Susan Kibbe, the South Texas Property Rights Association. These are our landowners down there, our ranchers. Her quote, South Texas landowners greatly appreciate the state legislature's measures that have made great strides on helping secure the border. The Texas House of Representatives did an extraordinary job ensuring the success of House Bill 11 that gave the Texas Department of Public Safety the tools that were needed to help stem the tide of criminal activity along the southern border. We say keep up the good work. It's pretty clear.
Visiting with State Representative Dennis Bonnen. Before I let you go, and I don't want to keep you on too long, I know you've got other commitments to make today. What do you think the future holds for funding border security here in the state of Texas?
I think the future's, unfortunately, going to still continue to be Texas being the only state in the nation to spend our Texas resources to do something that's a federal job. The reality of it is very simple. I wish Mr. Landtroop and his Midland funders would go hammer Congress to do something about their constitutional responsibility of securing the border, because the truth of it is we shouldn't be spending $800 million to have to do what's their job. That's why Representative Frullo and I sent a bill to Congress and to Washington saying you need to reimburse the state of Texas for doing your job. But the reality of it is Texas is committed, Representative Frullo is committed to doing what we can to fill the gap of the federal government's failure until they are willing to finally come do their job. And one last comment I'm going to point out to you. In 2011, Mr. Frullo's opponent's one session on your show yesterday, you mentioned that we should take this film and music marketing incentive and get rid of it and those type things. I think you recall him saying that, right?
Right.
Well, he voted for $32 million of that in the 2011 budget, and guess how much is in the 2015 budget? $32 million, the exact same amount. So when Mr. Landtroop had a chance to do something about it, he voted for the budget and didn't do a thing. And he only had $222 million in border security at that time. Representative Frullo's made sure that number has gone up 4 times while he's been leading on border security. State
Representative Dennis Bonnen, as always, we appreciate your time, and hopefully we can have you on in the future.
Be glad to do it. Thank you, Chad.
Awesome. Thank you very much. That's State Representative Dennis Bonnen. If you remember, earlier on in this race in HD 84, we had Jonathan Stickland, who called in favor of Landtroop. And so, very interesting race here in HD 84.